So these are the new Transporter HQ Audi style T6.1 headlights. These are a brand new style made up by a brand new factory to our own design. So you may have seen us float some images around these on social media. You may have seen them on Ultimate Dubs and they got a really good reaction. So we sat, I don't know, Jake, you designed these, how long ago was it? 18 months ago? 18 months ago, actually physically sat and designed these, chose the style we wanted to do, sent them over to the factory, and after several different prototypes and several different versions, they are finally here and in the UK ready to ship. So what's different? Well, a lot. Not only do they look completely different, made by a different factory, but they have a bunch of other features, and importantly, these are complete LED. So whereas our other lights are built to have halogen bulbs, but obviously can accept LED bulbs and work really well, these are factory built with LEDs in. And where you have twin projectors, both are your dip beam and both are your main beam. And there's a bunch of other sexy features as well. So not only does the van do things like this is your celebration for when you turn the ignition on. It also has active indicators like this. And as I said previously, your dip and your main beam are both lenses. And when you put your main beam on, that stays on again to give you the ultra brightness in lighting the road. So in the kit you also get a couple of little party features, so you'll find a few of these. Now it's a little trick we've added to the back of the lights that allow it to have some other features. Not all of those are road legal in the UK, I must say, so some of these we'll call show mode features. So you may not want the indicators to pan out sequentially, you may want them to flash on and off. You may want to be able to park it up at a show, say you're going to Ultimate Dubs or Gravity or one of those shows, and you want the DRL to glow orange completely as opposed to white. There's a feature for that too. So just a few little party tricks and just a way to make them a bit more unique and stand out that little bit more if you're at a show. So now let's show you how simple they are to fit. So these are slightly different to fit than our other headlights. There is one other thing that you need to add just to make it have all these features. Now I'm going to hand you over to Mitch, and Mitch is going to show you how to get the bumper off and how to fit these lights and show you how all the functions work.
Right, so that's TH2 lights, daytime lights on only, and that's the dip beam light on. Crazy bright. I'll put the main beam on. There you go. So dip beam and main beam flashing between the two.
Right, so as you can see, we've already got our headlights in. So these are going to come out, and then we'll refit them, run the additional wiring loom that's involved, and show you how it all works. So first thing we're going to do, pop the bonnet, and then do all of our screws around the bumper. Right, so grab my T25, and I'm going to grab the screws around the arch liner. This is our GTT bumper, so we have got a couple of different fixings to you, but there will be one here, and then you should have 3 underneath, and then you'll have some popper clips which I'll show you as well, which there'll be one in the arch liner and one that holds the bumper to the wing. So we'll get all this undone, show you how it all comes apart, and then your van will be very, very similar. Don't lose your screws. Right, so I'm grabbing a trim tool. So this is going to be used for getting the pop clip out. It's like a plastic rivet. So it fits like this. So you grab your tool, it'll go under the rivet, and then I put my finger on just so I keep it so it doesn't deform the plastic. And as you pry up, it'll open up, allowing you to remove it. So this will have, the majority of this arch liner will now be free. Allow this to drop it down like so. And then if you've got fog lights, then you'll have your fog light connector here as well. So you want to unplug that before the bumper comes off. And then I've got this final plastic rivet, which is tucked right up against the corner of the wing. So we're working about here. From behind, same principle, pulling that centerpiece out. And this will allow the bumper to pop off like that. Now onto the other side, so to remove all the same fixings, and then we'll be ready to start getting the bumper off. So with both corners or sides of the bumper removed, we've got to pull the grille out, which is just on clips. And now we're at the point where we're ready to remove the bumper. There is some very strong clips around here, so you will be grabbing here and probably a vent if you can. I think probably about there. And then, as you can see, they're quite a strong, abrupt clip. And then allow your bumper to the floor. So next step, we're going to be removing, or at least undoing, all the screws for this panel here. So I've grabbed my trim tool again, and just like the ones in the wing, it's like a plastic rivet just holding this cover on. So we've got 3 of these, and then we've got this plastic screw. You can use a coin or just use the tool there. That'll pop that off, so that's now loose there. And now I'm going to grab a T30, and we're looking at these silver ones here. So you want to undo this one fully, and this one fully. And then if you move over to the other side, we're not going to take one of them fully out. So I'm going to grab the top one and take that out completely. And this bottom one, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to undo it so it's loose, but I'm going to leave it so it is still in there. So the way that this panel works is it sort of interlocks with the headlights. So you'll find that if you start to remove your headlights, this panel may fall down. There's a sensor down here that could get damaged. So we're going to essentially leave that screw in so this panel doesn't essentially fall off. And then once we've done that headlight, I'll swap that screw for that one and then move over to this one. Just keeps it nice and safe so you're not going to damage anything. So headlight next. We're on the stage where we're going to remove our headlight. So from T30, and you've got 2 along top. You've got 1 T30 down here, and then a T25 in here. As you see, the headlight's got loose. Final thing to do would be unplug it. So this headlight is now about ready to come out. So I'm holding this panel, holding the headlight, and it's sort of intermesh around here. Just give it a wiggle, and that's our headlight now removed. So repeat the process for the other side, and then we'll get to installing our headlights, and I'll show you the wiring loom and what's involved now. So with the headlight kit, you get a wiring loom with a fuse tap on it. So this is for our Audi style startup sequential lights, and also for the DRL function. We're going to wire this into the factory fuse box located just in front of the battery, and then run the cable in along the radiator slant panel to each headlight. So the first thing I'm going to do is run the cable. So obviously we've got a bit of a wide piece, so the way that I'm going to do it would be this longer section will go to the driver's side. So it's essentially going to just be run alongside the bonnet release cable, which is here, and then round to the factory loom. So what we're looking for is this plug here on our new light. So it's going to plug in somewhat like that, and then I'm going to run the cable with our factory harness. So I'll cable tie all this, and then once we've got to this point here, I'm going to jump onto the bonnet release cable, and then I'll cable tie it up to the bonnet catch, and then from here you've got the sensor for the bonnet opening sensor. So we'll then jump onto that one instead, all the way over to here. So I'm spinning the part of the cable tie, the bulky section, under the wiring loom. So when you see it, all of them will just look like a thin section of the cable tie. So now I'm going onto the bonnet release cable. Now we're moving on to the wiring loom that's here. So if you do this while your headlight's out, you will have a little bit more room to play with. So the other connector is going to end up about here. And as you can see, we're going to end up with a little bit of slack. So it'll just be a case of trying to make this nice and tidy. You know, if you wanted to, you could actually run it behind the bumper here, just so it's all nicely hidden. And then our fuse tap that we've got here is going to go into this fuse box just here. So I'll show you that one once I've got the wiring cable tied out of the way. Now cut all your cable ties with a pair of flush cutters. Nice and neat, that's what we wanted. So I'll connect up the fuse now, then we'll plug our headlights in and get it all working. Okay, so the fuse tap. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at this fuse box in here. So we've got a row of different fuses. We're actually looking at the central row of the 5 amp fuses. You may have different ones depending on the spec of your van, but we want an ignition live. Now I know that this one here, which is near the back, is this one. That's the one I want for an ignition. So I'm going to, with the ignition off currently, take this fuse out, and then I'm going to put this fuse in here. So we've now got an active fuse here that will just stay as the original feed, and then we've got a new fuse for our DRL. Now this is just a signal wire really, so it's not really got a lot of current going through it, but we're going to now put that into the original port right there. As you can see, it now sits slightly differently, but that is plugged in, and then we're going to make a connection to our plug on the wiring harness that we've ran earlier, this one here. So once you've plugged that in, that will be your feed, and then you'll want to just tidy this nicely up, and we can go on to fit our new headlights. So new headlights, let's get them in. With our harness now plugged in, what we can do is don't have that dangling there. You will, once you fit this headlight, it will get stuck in there. So it would be either get it out of the way towards your battery, or you could try and plug it in if you've got the room. It may limit us on going back in, but we'll try it anyway. I normally plug them in at the end, so I know I've signed off the job. To be fair, I think this will be fine. So we've got some dowels to locate on the wing, like little locating pegs on the headlight. I don't know if you can see those. So make sure they go into the plastic guides, and then it is just a case of joining these two together, overlapping them as we have done. So you've got the plastic slam panel in front of the headlight, and then these are in position. So what I generally speaking will do, we just try and grab one screw at the top, just get one in by hand, so at least you know nothing's going to sort of fling out at you. Doesn't have to be mega tight, as long as it's on the threads, at least you know it's not going to move anywhere. So now I'll grab all my fixings for this headlight, making sure again you're not trapping any cables, because VW get quite close with this area. So obviously all this is factory routing. So with that light now in, this is where you would put your one bottom screw in and take your bottom one out here to then remove your original light and then refit that, just due to, obviously, like I said earlier, that it may fall off. You want to try and prevent you damaging any of the connectors, any of the plugs or any of the sensors that are under here. I'm happy to start reassembling the vehicle. So we've got our light already in, so it'll be a case of grabbing all the slam panel screws, which are the T30s, and we're going to get the slam panel screwed back to the vehicle. So we're going to get the bumper back on now, so that'll be a case of just guiding it into the central area first, clip it in both sides, and then we can start doing all the screws with the arch liners and the under trays. So you just sort of somewhat hold it centrally, and then it'll be a case of up and in, give it a tap. Just tuck your grille clips under. Plug my fog lights and my parking sensors back in. Right, plastic poppers. So our plastic rivet up into the wing. So I've got it in that orientation, and then I'm going in that way and push that in. If you find that's a bit stiff, WD-40 or something, that will allow you to push it in by hand. You should never have to tap it in, it should just be by hand. And I've got the 3 screws to do on the under tray panel. That's one side done, so if you repeat on the other side, and then we'll show you how all the lights work. So we'll just quickly talk about these bypass loops. So there's 4 to choose from. You've got different features throughout each one. The way that we're going to do it is there's a connector on the back, nice and easily accessible. First thing we're going to do is show you the red one. This one is the only really one I would use for UK road use, is if you don't like the sequential indicator, if you fit the red loop, it will then turn it to just a flash, just like a normal vehicle. So I'm going to plug this in, which goes just here. Click that in place. As you can see, it's nice and easy down there. I'll then turn the ignition on. So now I've turned the ignition on, we've got this lovely welcome cycle. So this will run just for a second while it's on the startup, and then will become a solid DRL. So now we're here. If I indicate turn right, this should now just flash. So there's no sequential, but obviously some of you guys may want that. Some of you may want it to be just a normal sequential. So that will be just a case of just leave it unplugged, or we can find which one is the relevant bypass loop, just to keep the circuit nice and sealed. So the blue one, let's see what this one does. Plug that in, again, start the ignition. This will activate that feature once it's done its boot up. So we are now sequentially flashing, and then back to our white light. So if you want a sequential, then fit the blue one. If we move over to the green one, again, you've got to turn the ignition off, back on again to reset this to allow the new feature. So you now have an amber DRL. So we've got complete amber DRL. So, you know, show mode, actually not legal in the UK, but does look cool. So we are flashing, which means the black one will be an amber with sequential. So we'll plug that in as well. Right, so the black one is amber DRL with sequential indicator. Again, not legal in the UK, but maybe a nice show mode. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put whatever's legal for the UK back in, which we will go with red. Grab another red one. So again, a nice welcome startup. The headlights, when they come on, both lenses will light up together. So we've done it so that you have 2 lenses light up, and then when you hit main beam, instead of just one coming on like you'd see on most vehicles, these just get brighter. So it's hard to pick it up on the camera, but they are seriously impressive in how bright they are. So this is our dip beam, and if I flash you at the main beam, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but they are seriously bright. You'll see for miles, literally. So that's us done. Lovely GTT front bumper, sort of just show you that. This is coming live on our website shortly. Check them out when they're ready.
So the only other thing worth mentioning is obviously in beam pattern. So your beam pattern is kind of this shape. You have a kick up in the UK. In the European countries, we want the beam to kick up that side. So the idea being you like the hedge and, over here, and not blind the oncoming traffic. Now the headlights themselves, once you've installed them, they've got motors built in. So they work off the dial that's inside your cab. That allows it to move up and down. And also there's adjusters on the back of the headlights. So if you need to adjust the beam pattern, you're better off taking it to a beam pattern adjuster, a garage, an MOT centre or something, and have the tools to do that, where they can actually use the adjuster on the back to adjust the beam pattern to go up and down. But you can just park it, you know, against the garage or a flat wall and adjust it to where you think it needs to be, just by using the adjuster on the back. There you go. Just wanted a quick end to this video just to show you how bright these CHQ lights really are. So full LED, there's no bulbs in there, they're all built in, the LEDs are built into the headlights, so you've got no shadowing or no dark patches. Full crystal clear picture all the way up the road.